You boys know what's about to happen to you. You'd leave now.
Some consider these traits to be toxic, such as undesirable in the men of today. We consider these traits such as these not only to be desirable, but to be appreciated and celebrated. Welcome to the Toxic Male Appreciation Show, hosted by and La Reina Creole. Welcome to the safe space for the toxic male.
Okay, folks. Well, hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Lorena Creole, and here is my co-host, and welcome to the second episode of Toxic Male Appreciation, where we appreciate all of those quote unquote toxic male traits here on this show. Not only do we appreciate it, but we actually celebrate them. And every episode, we pick one particular actor who epitomizes, toxic masculinity. And this week, been waiting for this one. This week we have chosen actually Jason Momoa.
Yes. Hi, Lorena. Thank you for having me here today to talk about this extraordinary actor, Jason Momoa. I think that, although he needs no introduction, we are going to be talking about him, as you said. And he truly is really very special in so many ways. And Lorena, you actually got to meet
I
Jason
did.
Momoa.
I did. I got to meet him twice. Probably why I'm so hyped up about actually talking about him. I met him actually twice in California. Um, when I was actually going to science fiction conventions. And he was in Stargate Atlantis. So I found it interesting that he was in Stargate Atlantis because I know this guy from somewhere else. And no, it wasn't Baywatch. It was this movie with Cedric the Entertainer, and it was called Johnson Family Vacation. And Jason Momoa had this bit part as a Native American, I think, when they stopped someplace in the Southwest. And he was like really being really flirty to the character being played by Solange Knowles, who was Beyonce Knowles' sister. And I'm like, dang, this guy's really freaking hot. And I just happened to be channel surfing. I'm like, Stargate Atlantis. Oh, okay. All right. I got to find out who this dude is. So they had these conventions like out in California. I think it was Creation. I think that had it. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go because I knew the guys. I knew the folks from Stargate SG1 already, so I was going to see them. So I go to the convention, and I meet him like in the photo op line first, and he is just the nicest guy, and just seemed stunned that all of these people wanted to meet him, and he was just floored. I mean, this guy's like he's like 6'4", he's like huge, and anything that big, I'm turning into a total girl. I'm just like, hi. I don't know what my name is. Uh, I don't know what my name is, and I'm just like looking, and he's like such a he's like so shy, like a big teddy bear. It's kind of like shy. He's not as assertive as say Christopher Judge is, because he's just like, hey girl, how you doing? Don't you look hot? Jason Momoa is kind of like, yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah. So I tell him my name. And he's like, oh, I have a friend named so and so. I'm like, this is not helping me. This is not freaking helping me. Like at all. But I asked him a question when he was on stage, and had asked him about, Johnson Family Vacation, because I said, that is where I remember you from. And he was like shocked. He's like, wow, you saw that movie? I'm like, yeah, I saw that movie. And all these other people like, what movie is that? What? What movie was that? But it was a pleasure to get to meet him twice. He's, such a nice guy, and I've been following his career ever since then. So I'm so looking forward to talking about him in this show.
Now, Lorraine, you also got a chance to hug him. Am I incorrect on this?
You are not incorrect. I got to hug him twice. First time was in a photo op line, and I have to find those pictures. They've been like put in storage. I got he's like the best hugger. Oh my god, remember, like, probably like when you were a little girl and you got like this big huge teddy bear, and it was bigger than you, so you like hugged it and you like felt like so safe and everything. That's pretty much like being hugged by Jason Momoa was like. He's very, very, very muscular, nice guy, really, really sweet. Total gentleman, and it was just great to be able to hug him. I'm just like, I look and see him on screen, and I'm like, I have actually touched those particular biceps, and I know what it's like to be hugged by this guy and like talk to him. Where I'm just like, oh my god, he's so tall. To be able to to be able to do that. It's one of my favorite fan moments, and probably one of my favorite toxic feminine moments too at the same time, because it's like you meet this guy who's he's really nice, he's really attractive, he's really tall, and again, he's really nice and genuinely, and engaging, and that type of thing, is extremely extremely attractive. And man, I wish I was still living in LA at the time, because at that time was when he broke up with his girlfriend. He actually admitted this on stage. I think we had talked about this before, or
Yes,
either in
but let
another.
refresh our memories so
Yes,
the
we
new
shall
viewers.
we shall
Yes.
refresh the memory now. Um, I always do my intelligence investigation before see any actor at a convention, because I want to come up with some interesting questions and all of that. So I knew that supposedly he had been dating this Australian woman for like a long, long time. And rumor had it out in the interwebs, because there was a certain group full of, I'll say, Jason Momoa crazies. Yes, I'm gonna call y'all crazies, because that's exactly what you guys were. Pretty much following his every like move, news, stuff like that. He's doing this, his girlfriend's doing this, they're doing this and all this. So they heard there was a rumor out there, supposedly, that he had broken up with his girlfriend, but no one would corroborate that story. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting to know. So when I'm asking him the question on stage and he's answering, the interesting thing I find that and you can tell me this too if you think this is the case. I love to say your name. When men are attracted to you, they will get diarrhea of the mouth, some of them.
Yes, this is
And
true. They fall over their words.
they follow their words, and stuff just starts spilling out, even stuff that they didn't intend to come spilling out. And on stage was when he said, in no uncertain words, his former girlfriend. I'm like, I heard that. I heard that. Right? He said, and he repeated it again. My girlfriend, well, my former girlfriend. I'm like, oh, shoot, really? Oh man, what the? And then it got out. Then it got out, that he was supposedly single, and I'm like, man, why am I not living in LA? At least I could fly to Vancouver, you know. I think his home base was in LA, but he was just filming in Vancouver for the series. I'm like, man, no problem to hop to Vancouver, 2-hour flight. Shoot. Could have been something.
Wow.
I would have tried.
Wow, Lorena, that must have been such an experience. I don't think I would have been able to process all that information without thinking, wow, what a moment for him to divulge that at that very moment in front of you and everyone else there. It's just remarkable.
I did not expect for something like that to like get dropped at all. And I don't think it was something that he had actually intended, but for whatever reason, he did it. He dropped it. I'm like,
He wanted someone in the
wow.
audience to know that he was single and available.
And dang it, I
Mm-hmm.
had to fly back to Philly. Oh, I was so upset because I'm like, man, I used to live here, but I had to get out of LA. But that was just really interesting because I'd never asked a question of an actor and something like that, like got dropped like that. It may have been that he was new to conventions. I don't know. I'm probably being probably more humble than I should be right now, but that's kind of that's the
It's
out.
breaking
That's
news now,
that
right?
that was breaking news, and actually news that I kind of kept to myself. Like I didn't immediately go out and start posting it, like on the internet at all. I kind of watched that one certain group to see what would happen, and
Mm-hmm.
sure enough, somebody posted what he said. And you saw like there was like all this, no, he's still with so and so. They're just like, that is not what he sounded like when he said so at so and so convention. They are not together anymore. And then I want to say probably like about a year after that, I found out he was dating Lisa Bonet, and I was happy and pissed at the same time. uh,
Mm-hmm. Well, he wanted someone there to know. I know how I feel about what you've said. He wanted someone in that room to know that he was available. So, that's all I'm going to say. I think it's
well,
pretty significant, and fairly recently, Lorena, there was some sort of question um, about whether or not Jason Momoa was single again.
absolutely. Now here's the here's the funny part about this. I'm gonna share this over here. Let's see. This was the really really funny part. All right, so when the news dropped about him being single, I did see it because everything breaks on Twitter. I kind of saw it interesting and put it to the side. Why is it I'm getting DMs on Twitter? My phone's blowing up. All I hear is, girl, he is single now. I mean, it was crazy. Granted, you know, he is definitely one of my crushes. I found it funny that everyone pretty much that I knew was telling me about that. People joking like, "So, Lorena, you gonna move to LA now?" It was funny, but it was such a girl moment. I'm like putting up gifs of like screaming, like, "Oh my God, he's single now! He's single now! He's single now!" So that was fun, but at the same time, it's like you kind of don't want to. How would I put this? You kind of want to be a little bit sensitive to the fact. I believe that he and Lisa Bonet, I believe they were or dating or cohabitating for several years before they officially got married. Like they had their children, and then I believe they got married. So it was kind of like I was glad to hear that they did. And so it was kind of like I didn't really see that coming, with them splitting up. So it's like, are they going to split up, or are they going to you know, are they just going to separate? Jason was living in like a luxury RV, parked in the back of his friend's yard for a while. But this was something where nobody saw it coming, and then it just exploded, and then immediately people who knew me were just blowing up my social media and my phone, telling me about it. There were threads with women who were like, well, Jason, you can contact me for moral support. I'll help you. And I'm like, okay, it's not just me.
No, no, it certainly wasn't just you. I heard the news straight away, and I couldn't get away from the news about it. It turned on the television. I actually heard it on regular television news, which surprised me because they aren't normally on point when it comes to breaking news anymore.
Hmm.
So I was quite surprised to hear something about that. And of course, on YouTube, I did see a few things. But yes, it was something that certainly was broadcast around when it broke. And, everybody was thinking the same thing you and I were thinking. Is it true? Like, what's going on with Lisa, Bonet and Jason Momoa? Like, what's this story? So, yeah. What is going on with them?
I know. And for the folks who don't know, Lisa Bonet, to kind of back this up, kind of stay with me here. This is a little convoluted. Lisa Bonet used to play oh my gosh, the oldest Huxtable daughter, and I'm blanking out, on the Cosby Show. So she's
Right.
biracial. She's pretty much, famous. If you were watching sitcoms in the 90s, you know exactly who Lisa Bonet was. And as a matter of fact, she was unceremoniously dumped from the Cosby Show because of certain steamy scenes that she filmed in a movie with Mickey Rourke. And
Angel Heart.
Angel Heart, yes,
And she
yes,
was Denise Huxtable.
yes. Man, that's a shame. I couldn't freaking remember
I
that.
had to look it up. It's
It's
okay.
been that long. But yeah, she was Denise Huxtable. But yeah, she was in the movie Angel Heart and got unceremoniously dumped from the Cosby Show. And that's what some people mostly remember who she was. She was basically a I don't want to say child actor, teen actor, but she was pretty well known. So that's her.
And
And
this was,
she's
and Lorraine, I just
go
wanted
ahead.
to also mention this. This was before the internet. This is tabloids were the sort of internet of the day. And
Absolutely.
there wasn't a week where she was not in a tabloid about her because she was so popular on the Cosby Show. She was maybe one of the most popular young actresses on television and maybe even internationally for in the 80s. I mean, it was a big deal. And every other weekend you saw at the time, I don't know when she ended up with Lenny Kravitz, Lorena, but you remember like whoever she was dating, there would always be
Mhm.
these photographs of her in tabloids. And, you just couldn't get away from it. She was on Entertainment Tonight all the time.
Inside Edition.
She was a big deal, a big deal. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, she was an absolutely huge deal. And not too long, I think not too long after she filmed Angel Heart, that's when she got married to Lenny Kravitz. Now, Lenny Kravitz, he's famous not only for his music, but the fact that his mother is Roxy Roker,
Right.
who played Helen Willis on The Jeffersons. So that was an interracial couple on The Jeffersons. She married her lawyer, who was Jewish, and their son is Lenny Kravitz. The daughter that Lenny Kravitz and Lisa Bonet have is known as Zoe Kravitz,
Right.
okay, who played Catwoman in The Batman. So yes, Jason Momoa is Zoe Kravitz's stepdad.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And, of course, as you already mentioned, Lorena, and I have already mentioned when Lisa Bonet, and she did marry Lenny Kravitz, right, Lorena?
Yeah,
They
they
married.
were married.
When they got married, it was a big deal because Lenny Kravitz himself
Mhm,
was a big time rock star during the
mhm.
80s and 90s. And at the time, Lenny Kravitz was a big time 1980s, 1990s rock star. He was
Yes.
like making incredible music, selling out stadiums, and they were like this one of the most famous couples in Hollywood at the time.
Hmm. Absolutely. I remember I had like at least two of Lenny Kravitz's CDs because I loved his music. And I didn't think I was going to get into his music, but it was really, really, really good.
Yeah,
So
he
yeah,
was
you're right. Everywhere in the tabloids, and I lived in LA at the time. They were like everywhere. You see them in the tabloids. You see them on the on Inside Edition and hard copy, and you would also see them, of course, on the local news as well. It's like you couldn't get away from the news about that. So one, hearing that they split, and then two, she was with Jason Momoa, who is quite a number of years younger than she is,
Yes,
actually.
yes.
So I was like, oh, okay, well that's kind of interesting.
She pulled a Demi Moore. She pulled a Demi Moore. I know Demi
You are exactly right.
ended up with is it Ashton Kutcher?
Yes. Yes, it was
Yeah,
Ashton
Demi.
Kutcher because the kids were calling they were calling Ashton my other dad, Maud, my other dad.
Exactly. And I don't know how old Ashton Kutcher is now, but Demi Moore and Lisa Bonet are probably around the same age. Maybe Demi Moore's a little bit older, but
Mhm.
it's very interesting. They were both stars in the 80s,
Mhm.
and big deal stars who pretty much did something very similar. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's very interesting. So what does this article say, Lorraine? I keep distracting you from what we're talking
So,
about.
oh no, that's okay. I had to, because I'll be staring at his picture forever. We'll be staring at the picture forever. We know, but apparently, let's see. So they were married for 4 years, or still have been married for 4 years.
Right.
And let's see, they met in a jazz club in 2005, which is interesting. That's actually, oh man, I think that was about the time I actually met him for the first time.
How
Now that
about
I
that?
think about it, wow. And so they've been together for 16 years. So they
Okay.
have two kids. So they have a 14-year-old Lola and 13-year-old Dakoa Wolf. So they have them like kind of like back to back. And let's see, there was the post on Instagram, the obligatory, things have been hard. We're going to get separating and all that, blah, blah, blah. Free to be each other, who we are, learn to become. And, the general statement, kind of worded in a flowery language like they do. So supposedly they're saying, however, all may not be lost. There's some pretty telling evidence that the couple may be working things out. So they said, here's what we know. Okay, this is pure conjecture. Jason Momoa has been hyping the hell out of stepdaughter Zoe Kravitz's new movie, The Batman. To be honest, this probably doesn't count as evidence, considering the end of his marriage to Lisa shouldn't change how he feels about Zoe. But the fact that he was jet setting to the premiere with her boyfriend, Channing Tatum, at least suggests the family's bond is stronger than ever. Wait. Zoe Kravitz is dating Channing Tatum?
Yeah, I didn't know that. Good for her. How about that? I thought she always knew
Wow.
that, but yeah, I like Channing Tatum.
Because Zoe Kravitz got divorced.
Hmm.
I didn't know she was dating Channing Tatum. Go ahead, girl.
Yeah, he almost like it's to go ahead and say that he's supporting hyping up the hell out of Zoe Kravitz's new movie is not a surprise. I mean, after all, they're connected in universes because he's Aquaman, and now she is now part of that same universe
Mm-hmm.
as playing in the film as well. So that's not a shock there. He almost has to hype it up because it's, they are connected, and who knows, maybe they'll appear in a film together.
Mm-hmm.
But there certainly was never a doubt that the family bond would be strong. I mean, he doesn't appear, to me, he seems like the type of person where family is incredibly important. And, under no circumstances, even if, let's say, they did split up and Lisa came out with a new project, which I doubt she will, but let's say she did, he would support her. He'd show up. He would show up to that. Like he would have nothing but kind words to say about her, as far as I can tell, the type of personality that he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's so zen. He's a very kind person. It's just not in his ability not to just continue to support family. As far as I'm concerned, he probably looks at his family is always going to be family. And, a relationship, depending upon what their relationship is however they define it. So I don't think that there'll ever be a situation of the family bond. They're always going to be tight, no matter what.
And I agree. And I think it's his father who's Hawaiian.
Hmm.
And I know in that particular culture, it's like family is extremely important. If the parents split up, the rest of the family, like several other cultures, what happens, the rest of the extended family kind of pulls together to, to take care of the kids. So I'm not surprised either, especially meeting him and how he kind of talks that way and the things that are important to him, and especially on a spiritual level. It would make sense to me that, he would, of course, of course, jet set with, with her boyfriend, because that's his stepdaughter. So, of course he's going to support her. So I think they're kind of reaching with this, about kind of hinting that they're going to be working things out. This to me doesn't seem relevant to the marriage. This just seems relevant to supporting the kids, which, like you'd said, is something totally different. So I don't think that's really evidence. Let's see what else they have here.
Oh, that's him with Channing Tatum. Wow,
Yeah.
he is huge, isn't he? Because Channing Tatum's not small. He's not a small guy.
Mm-mm. No, Jason's like 6'4". I'm like, it's just, I am a heightist. I really am. Because all the men in my family are like 6'1" to 6'2" to 6'5".
Wow.
They're all tall. They're used to being, tall. I'm used to like looking up, my real relatives, my cousins. Like my first cousin, he's like 6'2". So I'm used to me, it's like you got to get over 6 feet, kind of to subconsciously get on my radar. But he's so tall, and he just has fun, just being a guy, just unapologetic, guy. And he's so affable. So let's see. Lisa Bonet was spotted wearing a ring on her left finger. Actor was photographed wearing what appeared to be her wedding ring. Well, what do you think? Because I know some people who they don't take their wedding ring off until like the divorce papers are signed.
And sometimes they don't even take it off after that. But
Yeah.
for such an unusual public display of their relationship, meaning that, they didn't have necessarily, or at least didn't disclose to the public, the details of, let's say, when they may or may not have been officially married, let's say, and they've been
Mhm.
kind of private and quiet about it, which is fine. They're perfectly entitled to do that. I can't go buy a ring on her finger because of the way that she's been. And to be honest with you, Lorena, I think that Lisa Bonet is this way because of what she went through in the 80s with the tabloids. I think that she's,
Mm.
kind of pulled herself back from a lot of this publicity because she was in every photograph day in and day out for like 20 years, Lorraine. It
Yes.
was so long, and people don't understand. The tabloids were 100% worse than social
The
media now, in my opinion.
paparazzi, they're like all, in your face. I mean, I remember telling some of the actors at the Stargate conventions, because I would go and some of them knew me, so we'd be talking, and then people would like take pictures, and it wasn't like one picture or two pictures. It was like all of these cameras, going off. And I was like, I don't see how you guys handle it. Cause for me, I'm like parent. I'm like, who's taking picture? Who's taking, because I'm just used to taking pictures with friends. Like, hey, I got the camera, pose for the camera, pose for the camera, pass the camera around. You get a picture, you get a picture, you get a picture. I wasn't used to like, just because I happen to just be talking to someone who was on television, all of a sudden people with all of their cameras are taking pictures and asking you to look this way and asking you to look that way. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't freaking know which way to look. It's like I can't imagine what that's like if you're just out, at the supermarket shopping, and paparazzi is jumping out, taking pictures of you. But you're absolutely right. She's been in the tabloids for a long time, you know. So I don't blame her for kind of just like, staying out of it. Jason hasn't been in that type of light. He's kind of like in a different era now. Now it's the era of social, of social media. So he's grown, he's, for lack of a better term, grown up in that. She's grown up in a different version of that. And it's kind of just like, I have better things to think about. But again, I think they're reaching. It's just like that's really not evidence at all. So let's see. The joint Instagram statement has been deleted. While Lisa does not have an official Instagram to check, Jason's feed no longer includes their joint statement. Though it's unclear the post was deleted, it cannot be found as of March 19th, 2022. I'm pretty sure the Wayback Machine has it. I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure the Wayback Machine has that statement.
Well, yeah, of course. I think that honestly, because, as I said, because of what she went through for those 20
Mhm.
years, the ups and downs. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't really see, and while it is true, as you said, she was kind of let go from the Cosby Show because of that film. Honestly, it didn't
Mhm.
stop her popularity. Like, she still was in the tabloids. Like, it didn't stop. So I think that she was the one who was riding the momentum or pushing the momentum on the show. And
Mhm.
so, even though she had left the show, the momentum to look after her and be interested in her never waned. So, I can understand why we don't know a lot about the details of some of this stuff, even with a statement. So, with Twitter being sort of the de facto publicist for so many people nowadays, right?
Yeah.
You don't, and I actually would advise, any person who is either a public official, works for a large corporation, or is a celebrity, to not use Twitter as their de facto publicist. Not ever
No.
do that. But we're seeing that. We're seeing people kind of jump to it and use it, and they think that, like, their statement's going to be interpreted a certain way, and a lot of times it's not, because it's hard to interpret a statement that's supposed to be an umbrella for what could often be something major. And then you have like a small, concise statement about it. And I'm like, small, concise statements are okay for outlines, but perhaps not
Mhm.
for publicity comments, about things like this. So their joint statement may be a little bit longer. This, of course, is Instagram,
Mhm.
but my point being that the fact that they had this statement, which other people are using sometimes to introduce information, let people know what's going on.
Mhm.
I don't know whether it's an indication either, only because of, their desire to keep their lives more private and have
Mhm.
things, under the radar. Now, to be honest with you, I want both of these actors to be happy. I certainly do want Jason Momoa to be happy.
Oh yeah, of
So,
course.
if staying together is what's going to keep them happy, I hope so. I hope it works out for them. But it's very hard, I think, to look at this from the approach of this as being the proof. I think if Jason Momoa were to get on stage, just like what you witnessed, and he said, "I'm single now," then I might, it might grab my attention, the same way it grabbed your attention, Lorena, um,
Oh
almost
yeah.
20 years ago.
Oh yeah. It was just, it was just one of those things where it's just like, oh my God, are you serious?
Are we going to see Momoa at Comic Cons this year, Lorena?
That is an interesting question because is he going to be a Comic Con? That depends if they actually have it this year, because one, Aquaman, the date got pushed out
Right.
for that. And I think they're going to have reshoots. So usually Comic Con, let's see, usually San Diego Comic Con is in the summer. So, I don't know, because with WB being sold to Discovery, that's going to be an interesting thing to see if Discovery is going to say, no, y'all need to shut up. So we're not going to send you, um, to Comic Con.
And this comment, this headline that you just showed, Lorena, I think it does kind of speak volumes. He doesn't want to talk about what their status is, but he is saying that they're still going to have a good relationship. They're still going to be family. They're still going to be supporting one another. But he's not necessarily giving us an answer to the question that everyone is wondering about.
And I think there's a reason for that. Back when he was on Stargate Atlantis, no one really knew. No one really knew who he was. And then following his career, like he did Conan, which I did not see, which I probably will eventually see. He had a bit of a rocky time. I think I saw an interview where his family financially was not doing very well until he finally got that role on Game of Thrones. And then that kind of rolled into, him being, Aquaman. And then of course things kind of took off, from there. So he went from being, this television actor to a couple of obscure things to hitting Game of Thrones and people know who he is, and then a major picture like Aquaman. And then, of course, he's in Zack Snyder's, Justice League. His profile is way, way, way up here now, which usually invites some seriously, seriously crazy fans. And and people trying to attach themselves, to him. I mean, I kind of joke where it's like, okay, he's saying, great, I want to talk to him. But no, now it's just, how would I say this? Um, I could just come out and say it. You have a lot of crazy chicks who the first thing that they want to do is jump in bed with them. That is pretty much it. And they make it very, very plain that that's what they want, that's what they want to do, regardless of the status of what's going on with his family. I just think his profile is so much higher now that he's like hyper aware of what's going on. So he's kind of like, okay, I'm purposely keeping it vague, which makes sense in order to, protect his family. And it kind of goes to one of those toxic male traits of being a protector. He's really trying to actually protect his whole family, his stepchildren, like Zoe, and his natural children that he has, with Lisa, and kind of trying to protect them from a lot of, bad publicity, because whatever's going on in the marriage, it shouldn't be affecting their children. Or even if it is, and that it looks like they're going to split up, it looks like they're really trying to kind of minimize the damage. And you really have to admire him for doing that, because there's some celebrities, when they divorce, it's messy. It's just absolutely messy. They're not talking about reconciliation. They're fighting it out in the tabloids. And now that I think about it, that's something that, Lisa has seen with couples fighting it out, in the tabloids, as opposed to being very reconciliatory.
Yeah, and so definitely between the two of them, they've learned. They've been down this road before, and they have experience in dealing with a lot of these things. So certainly, I know you and I both wish them the best, and however they decide to resolve this.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, it's good that he is still saying that they're still family, because a lot of times we do see situations where the speculation is to, like, how close were they? How close was the family? And does this mean that, the children are still underage, right, Lorena? Or are they
Yes,
over?
they are 14 and 15.
And I'm not going to say that this is what would happen, but I have seen in some divorce settlements where there's this issue, and you'll see a couple and they'll say they're suing for custody or whatever it is. And we certainly wouldn't want this to be the situation in this case, or in any case, honestly. But I'm just praying that if this is, let's say, in the worst case scenario, that things didn't work out for them, that would not come up as an issue, and that they would just still be family, regardless of what goes on between he and Lisa. So I think maybe that's what he might even be alluding to, regardless of what happens between them in their relationship. There always be family, and I really don't want to see a divorce situation where the custody thing comes up for them.
No. No, I really don't, because he's such a nice guy. They've had such a great family, and they've been together for such a long, period of
Yeah.
time. Like I said earlier, it was one of those things where you heard this news and it was like out of left field. Like, for example, like say The Rock, right? I love him to death. I never met him never met him. But when he split up with his wife, that didn't surprise anybody um, when that happened. Granted, him and Danny actually manages his production company, so they were focused on raising their kids. That was, good that they did that. They kept that, very positive, but no one was surprised when they split. Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet hinting at splitting up, that seemed to come out of left field, and it just felt disappointing, kind of. So when I heard that, that he was that they were possibly reconciling, I did put that out on Twitter, but it's funny how nobody seemed to contact me to tell me that part.
No one's gonna be like, yeah, we hope they get back together.
I was like,
Except for maybe us, except for you and I, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But,
If there were no kids, I'd say, yeah, forget that. Bye. But
down vote. I don't know if there's a down dislike on that, but
but I do like that, he's protecting, his family, and that's a very, very, very attractive.
and it is
trait.
a very, masculine thing that we find, as you said, attractive. And one of the things we're celebrating in our toxic males, this sense of protection that they have for people they care about.
Exactly.